What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Millennial Trade. So let's just get this out of the way. The overnight trade that I held over the weekend was a disaster. I got ultimately destroyed. I posted everything on my Instagram if you want to see exactly how much I lost. And then I did come back a little bit. If you want to see all that, go to Instagram. Follow me at Millennial Trades. I post all of my wins, all of my losers on Instagram. So I'm down something like 30% in one trade. No. So this was not good. It was a disaster, but I wasn't exactly wrong. I kind of panicked because I'm going to tell you how the market played out this morning. This is what I was watching, right? Remember, we gapped down when the futures opened up last night. So I'm thinking, oh, my puts are going to look pretty good. Well, as soon as the market opened, we fill the gap, right? So the market pumps. I freak out because I'm just watching these contracts bleed money. I literally sold near the top of the first green candle. It was like at the close of the first green candle on I think of the 5-minute chart. And then I just watched PayPal pull back all the way back to where it started. So if I just held these puts, I probably would have gotten out okay. Maybe not profited, but it would have only been like a few $100s down instead of like nearly 2,000. It was a disaster, but I don't really think of it as losing. The way I choose to look at these kind of trades is, I've learned something. I've learned that I probably overshot the weekend trade, probably overshot the downward volatility, because even though stocks were down, S&P 500 was down, the stocks all started lower, of course. NASDAQ is down 1.35%. These are the futures that I'm looking at. And then you have the SPY futures that are down 1.5%. So these are some pretty big moves down. And the reason this was happening, right? Because after the pop, things just started pulling back. It was very frustrating. And the reason this happened, one of the factors is that the dollar just kept surging. We literally went on the dollar index. I have it right here. We literally went from a low of, in the last 24 hours, the dollar has moved an entire percentage point. We were more than an entire percentage point. We were at 105.32 in the pre-market. That was the low. As soon as the stock market opened, by the end of the day, we hit 106.65. So that is over a 1% move on the dollar. And if you look at the daily chart on the dollar, I'm going to pull that up right here. It almost looks kind of like a double bottom. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but in my opinion, it looks like a double bottom. So follow these other charts like the DXY, like the VIX volatility index. That just continues to go down, which I suppose could be good for stocks. But again, I was hoping for more volatility on this weekend trade, and it just did not happen. So that being said, there's a couple other things that I really want to address. The China lockdown protest situation. Like, what's really going on here? And the whole, not to get too political here, but the whole Trump, Kanye, Fuentes dinner meeting. Something else is going on here, guys. Okay, they are distracting us, and they're doing a very good job of it. Whatever's going on in China, I got a feeling that, supposedly there's these nationwide protests in China. A couple of days ago, they were protesting iPhone factory work conditions, and then 3 days later, they flipped the script, and it's actually nationwide protests about the COVID lockdowns. So I think there's something else. That's just my opinion. There's something else going on behind the scenes, whether that's something the Fed is doing or some other central bank. There's something else going on, and I have a feeling it's fiscal or monetary. They're trying to pull the wool over our eyes, and we're not going to let them do it. Same thing with this whole Mar-a-Lago dinner story. I keep kind of running the ideas through my head. Did Kanye bring feds, to mess up Trump's reputation? I know Kanye claims he asked Trump to be his running mate, which in my opinion is, if that's true, right? What Trump said is that Kanye has enormous issues, I think is what he said, or tremendous issues. He's a tremendously troubled man, I think was the quote. He said Kanye West was troubled. And, you know, it's quite possible. But this whole thing about him bringing, you know, Fuentes and company to Trump's home without Trump knowing about it, I don't know. The whole thing just seems really fishy. It seems off. And again, there's something else going on behind the scenes. And this could be some sort of hit story by the mainstream media to try to, you know, associate Trump with these extremist views, but or associate him with Kanye West. But again, I just, something really stinks about it. Something stinks about the China lockdown story. You know, and it was kind of messing up the markets last night when I was looking at trading economics. You know, Asian markets down because of the China lockdowns. And then today you wake up, American markets down because of the China lockdowns. And then we saw the markets pop up, they filled the gap, and then they came right back down. So whatever's going on over there, it's definitely affecting sentiment over here. There was a couple other things that were affecting sentiment as well. You know, you had oil rebounding a little bit because there's some rumors that there's going to be production cuts, I guess, from OPEC. Cryptocurrencies as well continue to fall. As far as commodities is concerned, the thing that really stood out to me, though, was rice hitting over a 2-year high. Why is that? You know, is that going to be something we're going to feel? Because I eat a hell of rice, right? As a vegan, I'm eating white rice and brown rice every single day, pretty much. There's the United States Fed funds rate, which is kind of, I guess it's like the RRR in China. It has something to do with the overnight lending facilities from the Fed that they had set up actually within the last few years to help banks cover, you know, overnight lending of their own. But that being said, from Trading Economics, a substantial majority of Fed officials judge that a slowing in the pace of the Fed's fund rate increase would likely soon be appropriate. But again, you know, we're hearing that it's likely. A 50 basis point rate hike is 70% chance of that. We're hearing from Jim Bullard they need to raise interest rates to 7% a couple weeks ago. Morgan Stanley, I think, is telling us that the Fed's going to pivot soon and that inflation's going to come in cooler. I say BS. I say all of this is probably nonsense, right? I think inflation is not going to come in cooler. It's quite possible inflation is going to continue to rise. Even if the rate is a little decelerated in December, I think we're still going to see persistent inflation issues going into 2023. What's kind of fun about the earnings this week is that Kroger comes out on Thursday, and Kroger owns every big major brand of grocery store here in the United States. And it's kind of like a mini inflation report because, you know, all the investors and the people listening to the call, they're going to want to know, you know, what prices are inflated. Was there any deflation in some of these food products? So you have all that going on. Then there's the Dallas Fed manufacturing growth numbers that came out, and it basically measures manufacturing in Texas. It declined in November, so Texas producing less the past month. So that's not good. Definitely not a good indication. There's a few other things coming out. I think there's some official inflation data, not the CPI or the PPI, but I think it's like the PCE, the Producer Expenditures Index. I think that's what's coming out this week. And of course, we have interest rates coming up in December, more inflation data throughout December. So it is going to be wild, but that's pretty much, you know, everything I kind of saw today. The big story for me was the big rise in the dollar. All this stuff about China and Mar-a-Lago, it's nonsense. The dollar today, if you watch the volatility in the dollar over the last 24 hours, I mean, I thought it was shocking. To me, it seemed significant, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But you guys let me know in the comment section down below. Give this video a like and follow me on Instagram at Millennial Trades. As always, until next time, I'll see you on the next video.